Can you have too much empathy? Can empathy be a bad thing? I guess the question is, can you have too much of anything and it could be a bad thing? And it's a yes. Is empathy bad? Is empathy inherently good? Is maybe the better question. Empathy means you have an ability to deeply and genuinely feel somebody else's pain or whatever emotion it is they're feeling. But usually I think we think of it in terms of pain, suffering. Is that inherently good? I mean, if I start with myself as a use case, I think I'm a pretty empathetic person. And it almost begs the question of, what does it mean to actually be empathetic? Like, I think I'm empathetic, but there's a judgment in that. There's some assumptions made in that. That what I'm reading, what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, what I'm perceiving, that I'm accurate. Accurate in what I'm seeing, accurate in how I'm interpreting it, and what it feels like. So that's interesting, right? What does it actually mean to be empathetic? Is it really just when somebody tells you how they feel and you can empathize with it? When they make it explicit and clear? Because I often think I empathize with people without them actually saying it. Sometimes they don't know it. Sometimes they don't want to say it. Sometimes I don't want to force them to say it. But I read people in situations often and will think, I see something and I have an empathy for it. So that's an interesting question right off the bat. Am I even actually empathetic? Or am I just oversensitive? Have a hero's complex? Arrogant? Naive? It's a whole host of things, like intellectual flaws that could be going on in my mind that are masking themselves as empathy. But at its core, empathy, at least, is when I get it right. When I read a situation accurately, or when somebody tells me, and I feel that deep, real sense of pain that they feel, that emotion that they feel. Is that inherently good? I mean, I go back to it. For me, it often leads to me taking actions that are, you could call being a people pleaser at times. I feel for those people, I empathize with those people, and I want to help. Now that seems pretty good, right? You see somebody that you think is suffering or is suffering, and you want to help. But how do you help? At what cost do you help? And again, this all assumes that I'm actually reading it right, that I'm helping something in a way or in a situation where it actually needs help. I mean, it feels like it should be a good thing. That desire, that drive, that genuine sensation that says, I want to help this person. And I hear it from so many people I talk to. Often the work they do, the missions they have in life, the values they have in life, are generated by and large by their own pain that they then empathize with, stick with that word, although we can maybe use some others too, empathize with others, that they're feeling that same pain. And it drives them to want to help those people because they don't want them to feel what they had to feel. They don't want it to be as bad as it was for them. And again, that seems good. I guess my concern, and this is a microcosm of my concern in life, and I say this all the time, maybe it's my problem. Maybe the fact that this is where I go with this is the thing that I'm missing. And I should just appreciate it for what it is. But where my mind goes is, as soon as we make it about ourselves in some way, empathy inherently is making it about, almost by definition, we're making it about us in a positive way, right? In the way that we think of it. But we're taking your pain and saying, I feel it too. But then when we take that next step to say, I want to do something about it, empathy causes me to want to do something and to help. particularly in situations where it's something where I felt that pain and I think you're feeling that pain and I want to help you not have to feel what I felt. As soon as you get involved in it, it brings with you more than just empathy and the desire to help. It brings all the other baggage that is in your mind, your ego, your insecurities, your biases, all of that comes with it. And I don't trust that. I worry when all that stuff is there. And I've said this before, when you combine empathy with when you combine empathy with debating if the right pairing is certainty, or like when empathy is driving what you do, it gives your mind extremely powerful cognitive out. It's an extremely powerful thing that can cloud your mind, because you're talking about your own self, your own ego. You're talking about pain and suffering that is very real and very deep. When those things come into play, your ability to look at things objectively, logically, see it for what it is, becomes significantly reduced. It's not because you're trying to hurt people. It's not intentional. It's not, deliberately malicious or anything like that. And that's the point. It's so easy for us to tell ourselves stories in our own heads when empathy is at play, when we're trying to help others because of that empathy, that we're doing the right thing, that we don't need to check this. We don't need to question ourselves on this. It's almost the other side of the coin of the concern that I have about myself. The fact that I see it this way feels wrong. It's because the other side of that coin is, this is definitely right. This shouldn't be questioned. This is a good thing. And that's the question I have. Like, are we so sure about that? Are we so sure about that? And sometimes it's more subtle, right? Sometimes it's maybe not all that damaging. It's just a mental flaw. It's just a little L logical approach to something, where people have this kind of almost hero complex, is what I would say it looks like when it goes wrong. And they're not hurting anybody, but they don't realize the flaw. They don't realize the issues that can come with that. They think it's totally genuine. They think there's nothing. They think they see it completely clearly, and arguably they don't. Arguably they don't. It can lead to like arrogance. It can lead to overconfidence. It can lead to like a moral high ground. It can lead to a self-centeredness, a narcissisticness. That's a word. It can lead to all those things. And sometimes it's benign, but a lot of times I think it isn't. A lot of times I think it leads to pain, conflict, general discomfort in the world. Because to me, the game has always got to be question, check, test, be skeptical, don't have certainty, ferociously open-minded to the idea that it might be different, entertain the possibility you might be wrong. And when empathy comes in and you have this sensation or this sentiment that you are being empathetic and that is inherently good, and then you are trying to use that to help people, to stop them from suffering a way that suffering can be, and that is inherently good. Well, now you've checked off two things that say, fair game, go, it's all good. And it's too easy. It's too easy for us to slip up then. As soon as we stop questioning and checking, it is too easy for us to slip up. So is empathy bad? Maybe, right? Certainly if used the right way, it's a beautiful, amazing thing. If you can pair that empathy with that humility and self-reflectiveness and logic, if you can pair it with those things, then you got something really nice. But if you don't, if it's just blind empathy, that's where it can be dangerous.